People who work in surveillance, what's the most unexplained or creepy thing you've seen on video? I used to work overnights at a hotel, and would monitor the security cameras. They would detect motion and a little indicator would blink when motion was, well, detected. Anyway, it always gave me the creeps when I'd hear the elevator ding. I'd run out to the lobby to grate the guests to make sure they didn't need something or whatever. And nobody would get off the elevator.
I'd watch the tapes and see the motion indicator blinking on a floor. Then see the elevator open on that floor. Then see the elevator open on the ground floor and the motion indicator blink on the camera down.
The hall gave me the heebie-jeebies. Also, one time I was in my office in the middle of the night and it sounded like someone banged on the door with the side of their fist, just one single slam.
You can see me reacting to it on the video. My head whipped to face the door where the sound came
from. Then immediately whipped around to stare at the camera to see who the fuck was outside my door. There was nobody there, and none of the motion sensors had picked up anything. Not fun finishing the rest of that shift. I was house sitting in a huge house and set up a canary camera near my bedroom. I had an uneasy feeling someone else was in the house with me, so I set up the camera just to make sure no one came near my room. In the middle of the night, someone approached it from behind and turned it so it faced a blank wall. Then a few minutes later turned it back the way it was before. It tripped the canary and I got a notification on my phone. I saw it and searched the house thoroughly the next morning and never found anything. Needless to say, I slept with my door locked the rest of my time there. I have a home security system with a camera that watches in the living room. I saw my cat and my dog both sitting together in the dog's bed. The cat fucking hates the dog. I think she was possessed. I worked in a maximum security prison for a while.
I was assigned to Central Control one night,
which is where the camera screens were. One of the cameras was for the classification room. I glanced at it and there was an inmate in there. This was super odd because it was 2 in the morning and nobody was supposed to be in there. Everyone that had keys to that room went home at 5. Anyways, so this inmate is just sitting in there doing nothing. I got the sergeant's attention and told him someone was in there, and gave him the spare key to the room. He went to go check it out with a couple of other people. But by the time they got there, the room was empty. They searched for like 15 minutes, but there was definitely no one in there. I used to have an apartment pretty close to my office. The office building was kind of in a business district, but it was also kind of off on its own relative to the city's commercial district footprint. I sold the apartment, and before moving into my new home, I left my bicycle chained to the building's bike rack. It was only going to be there for a few days in that no man's land before I was able to move into the new place. Anyway, one day in the middle of the week, I come into the office, walk past the bike rack and notice that it's completely empty. The building has a bunch of security cameras and one more or less is facing the bike rack since it's adjacent to the front entryway. I sit and watch the security tape with the IT guy. We're watching. See everyone leave the office the night before. See the bike. Keep watching. Then all of a sudden, poof. Bike gone. We slow the tape down and it seemed like when you're watching digital cable or satellite and the
image gets garbled.
Literally it was bike there. Then poof, gone. In the tape's timestamp it literally happened in 1 second. I assumed my bike got taken to the upside down. I work security. During the weekdays I'm doing parking.
While weekends I'm at the desk solo. I'll always remember this one Saturday. It was the second shift ever working the weekend and I was watching the cameras when this one guy
came to the side door. He looked around inside and just before I could activate the speaker to let him know he was on private property, he looked directly at the camera and stared what felt like a minute. When I took my hand away from the button, he started to walk away. I ran to the side door to see if I could see where the hell he was walking, and he was gone. The only thing that was in that direction was more freaking wall. So to this day, whenever I'm watching the cameras, I'm waiting for this guy. This happened a few years before I started working at my current job. The elevators in my building go down to the first and second basement. Late one night, one of our security guards spots a group of people heading into the elevator at level 4. He thinks it's curious because nobody is supposed to be in the building after midnight. So he keeps a close watch on all the lobby cameras to see which floor the group alights at. The doors open at basement 2, but nobody comes out. The second guard scurries down to the elevator doors while the first guard keeps his eye on the cameras to make sure no one has left. When the second guard gets to the basement elevator, he looks puzzled and searches around. He comes back to the guard station to confirm that it's empty, putting the building on lockdown. The two guards spend the rest of the night combing the building together, but they were unable to find anyone or anything. They decide to call the police, who review the footage and see the same thing. In the end, the sighting was still unexplained, but my workplace decided to stop being cheap and install
security cameras in the elevators too.
I edited together the footage from the security cameras outside Pulse before,
during and after the shooting.
Though there were many sad and/or disturbing things to be seen. The strange one was a wounded man that appeared out of nowhere. He waved his hands for help and cops came over and carried him to safety. I tried numerous times to rewind to find out where he came from, but he was just there or he wasn't.
He didn't crawl to where he had gotten.
He just appeared.
He looked like he made it out okay.
I'll share this one again. I've posted this before, and it's been a while, so see how my memory goes. I used to work at a place which required to be manned 24 hours a day.
Reason being is that I handled sensitive documents, files, and if somebody needed this information in
the middle of the night, I would have to fetch it for them, or confirm that I have it. Anyways, security is kind of tight.
Bars on windows.
Multiple locked doors to get to where I am.
They would give me work to do during the night,
but underestimated how quickly I could get it done. So like most nights, I finished my work in like 30 to 45 minutes and pulled out my phone and played games, Netflix, browse Reddit, since nobody else is in the building at night. So now it is getting to be the last third of my shift when all of the sudden I hear a door close. I look to the security camera and see someone walking down a hall towards my room. At first I thought it was just somebody that came in ridiculously early, so I turn around and wait for them to come in. But nobody came in, and the hairs start rising on my back. Now, this isn't a really big building, so I figure I'll find the guy wherever he is and start checking offices and storage rooms, but come up empty-handed. However, I do see that a fire door had shut. I go to try and rewind the camera, but the digital recording is password protected and I don't know the password. Anyways, the whole thing freaked me out. The way the person was walking down the hallway, like a determined walk right to where I was. So, I sit with my spine tingling for the last couple hours of my shift, and finally people start coming in. My replacement shows up and I tell her what I saw, and at this point I figured I must have imagined the whole thing. I'm told to go home and the manager and girl who replaced me would look over the camera. After getting home, I call my manager and ask what was on the camera. So they said that the video showed the fire door closing, but then the video froze for about an hour. The next thing it records is me reopening the door. LPO here. I see crazy shit all the time. One of the creepiest things I have seen was a string of toys moving on its own down an aisle. It was like a duck with smaller ducks. Of course, I had to investigate. When I zoomed in, I was surprised to see that they were real ducks. Not particularly creepy, but I used to work as a security officer and was in charge of surveillance dispatch at a theme park. I was once casually watching a camera that was mounted in one of the ride's management office, and I saw someone shitting in the desk side trash can. About a year ago, I had cameras installed around my house. initially to catch male thieves. One morning after noticing my back gate ajar, I reviewed the footage from the night before. I watched as a would-be burglar at 3 a.m. pry open the gate and creep towards the living room. He suddenly stopped and started backing away when he noticed I was home and awake. I was actually just a few feet away in the living room with the blackout curtains closed. He must have spotted light peeking out at the bottom of the curtains.
The motion-activated lights kicked on as he simultaneously ran out the back gate and into the woods
behind our yard. I was awake, transitioning to a mid-shift, and ironically had a table full of guns as I disassembled them for cleaning after a day at the range. It's probably good that I didn't see him or hear him that night. We both would have freaked out. Link to pics. http://imager.com/shay/2uvict. I used to work security at a college dorm, and I once witnessed one of the doors on a washing machine slowly open itself and proceed to tear itself clean off of the machine. Told my boss this creepy story and showed him the video, and he made me review camera footage for the rest of the night to find out who broke the machine, despite the fact that he watched it break itself.